This is the sample form that I've given you to copy. Obviously populate it with your own students. I put in characters from one of my favorite book series. I also put in a test student, and the reason that I put in a test is for the first time that we populate our answer sheet, just makes it easier. You only need to put a test student in once. I've also already set this up as a quiz, but in case you don't know how to do that, you go to settings and you go to quizzes, make it a quiz. I always release the grade immediately, and then I uncheck all of these because you're the only one who's going to see it. There are already 3 questions attached. You can type in whatever it is that you feel you need to put in, whether it's for uppercase or lowercase. I've also already attached an answer key. When you need to make more questions, I highly suggest just clicking here, which is duplicate, instead of adding a question of your own. I don't require the questions only because it makes it easier down the road when, say, I'm testing Neville for like the 5th time and he's only got a couple letters left. I don't have to go through every single letter and hit yes. I can just go back in to our results later. So once you have all of your questions in there, I recommend putting your questions in order that you want to see them on your spreadsheet first. So if it's an alphabet identification test, you're going to want to put the questions in alphabetical order. You can go back and mix them up later, and that won't affect your answer sheet. But however you put them in the first time that you populate that sheet is going to affect how it looks on the sheet. So in order to fill it out, see the back end where it says edit, you're going to make it say view form. I'm going to select the test student and then put in, you can put in yes or no, but I'm populating it with a no answer so it's easier to see what I'm doing. You can see that we have one response, and that's the one that we just put in. You don't need to worry really about anything down here, although these are fun to look at. I'm a graphics nerd, so I like graphs. But you're going to create a spreadsheet by clicking the little sheet sign. You want to create a new spreadsheet. You can name it whatever you want, and then click create, and it will create it. And you can see that we have a timestamp, we have our score, we have the student name, and then the yes or no. After you've done that, you can kind of make it look pretty, however you would like to put it. I like to make my timestamp smaller and minimize the score. Ultimately, it doesn't matter how big these are because I use conditional formatting to help me just kind of at a glance see how everyone's doing. So to do that, you're going to select the columns. You're going to go to the fill and then conditional formatting. You want to make sure text is exactly yes, and then change it to the color that you want, whether that's green or pink or whatever. I like to use blue, and I change the fill color and the font color so that way it's just a solid box. Then you're going to click done, and then then you go and you add the same rule for no with whatever color you want to use. And then click done. After this, I like to go through and just put in the names of my students underneath the test student. Once you've done that, you need to make sure that you've installed an add-on called Easy Query, linked in the description below, and then you're going to create sheets. And the sheet you want to create needs to be unique from column C because you want a sheet for each student. The columns that you want, I don't see the point of having their name on their own sheet, so I always unselect that, and then I hit create. And you can see it doing its magic down here at the bottom. Every student has their own tab. I like to go through and rename. to just their initials. And we don't need the test students. We can delete that sheet, and then we can also come up and delete those results. And then you can take those off. But what's going to happen is this is a query. It's a function for a query. And what it's going to do is any row that has Hermione in column C, it's going to populate the answers here. So if I were to go back and I were to take this form as Hermione, Hermione would get all of the answers right. And you come back over here, you see she pops up here. And then when you go to her sheet down here, it shows the yes. I don't do conditional formatting on these tabs because it never sticks. And because I'm not usually looking at this page to see how she's doing anyway, I'm looking at her data at a glance sheet, which I will show you in just a minute. If you test Neville and he doesn't know any of them, Neville, you'll see it pops up here and it will pop up on his spreadsheet as no, no, no. If you retest Neville in a couple weeks after you've been working really hard and he's got A, and he's got B, but not C, and he's got D, then you can see how it updated him here, shows his score, and then it also updates here, and you can see all of that. Also, one thing to keep in mind, if you have a student who has a hyphen or an apostrophe in their name, like I have a DeAndre, this hyphen or this apostrophe does not show up in this formula. So it won't pick it up because you see it uses an apostrophe to tell it where to look. So I would just put DeAndre in without the apostrophe. No one's going to see it but you, so you don't really have to worry about it, about like making a parent mad. After you have gotten your first set of responses and this is set, you can then move these around, and it doesn't matter which order they're in as far as the results page goes, but you do want to make sure that the order of these matches the order of the slideshow that you show your kids. So if I were to have Harry take it, see now it's mixed up. Yes, no, yes, yes. Submit. And then go to example form, there's Harry's, and then it's in alphabetical order. And then he shows up in here. Pause the video here and create all of the forms that you're going to need. Uppercase, lowercase, numbers 0 through 10, CBC words, sight words. Make sure you put them in the order that you're going to want to see them on your form here. And then once you do that, come back and I will show you how to populate a data sheet that's going to look very similar to this, but it's going to have all of this conditional formatting with it. Okay, this is the data at a glance sheet that I look at. When I said I don't look at these to see where they're looking, how they're looking as far as identification and things, I look at this, and what it's going to look like is something like this. This is actually one of my students' data. I have changed their name, so you can't see who it is, but you can see they knew all of their letters when they came to me in August, but not all of their sounds. And each time that I have assessed this student, they've known more and more. And so you can see very quickly which ones to work on, which ones they knew but then forgot, and you can start picking up patterns. And it populates it from those tabs that we made on each of our result spreadsheets. So here's another student. I can look real quick how much better they're doing, how much worse they're doing, what letters we need to work on, and things like that. So going back to our data sheet, this is where it gets complicated. And I don't know if it's because, I don't know what, if it took me so long to do this because I was making it look pretty or what. But you see this hashtag ref exclamation point. Do not ask for access from your sample because then I'm going to get emails from everybody and I'm not dealing with it. What you want to do is up here, it says import range. And what import range does is it pulls it from this or from another spreadsheet. In this case, it's going to be this. So this string of letters and numbers is this string of letters and numbers after the spreadsheet. So you're going to copy and paste. And if you're working on Hermione, you're going to make sure it says HG. Now you can allow access because it's your own file and it will automatically populate what you need. Obviously, this doesn't go all the way across because I only have the 4. But what you want to do, A1 to AC refers to all of these up here. So it takes A1, and this is A1. B1, it skipped C because remember we didn't import C. What it basically is doing is it's pulling in all of this information without you copying and pasting. It's pulling it automatically. And I already have all of these conditionally formatted for you, so you don't even have to worry about that. So if I'm working with Neville, you can populate one and then duplicate it, change it for Neville because he's the other one that I did. And then up here in your import range, change your initials from HG to Neville Longbottom. Or to the NL, and then it'll import what you need. But you see how it only imported the 1? If it stops importing, check your range that you have here. This is only importing the first row and the second row, which if we go back and look at Neville's is your title or your headers and this first result. So that's an easy fix. All you have to do is come to the end and change the number. I usually do a couple rows, and so it pulls in, it'll think, and then it'll pull it all in, and now you have all of them. Do you see how it has the time here? A really quick way to fix that is to come back to your form responses, select your timestamp, select the numbers, and come down so that it just shows the dates, and then it'll update here. Get it updated just then. So, and you would do that for every sheet that you have. So I only showed you one form, but that's why I told you to do this process over and over again until you have everything you need. So an uppercase, a lowercase, a sounds, a letter ID or a number ID, however it is that you split up your data. I just type in what they count to so that they have it, so that I have it. And then you have everything per student. So you can duplicate it and then you can change this to be, Harry Potter, HP, Ron Weasley. I didn't fill out anything for Harry there. So there won't be anything in there, but you'll want to go and change all of your references in 2 spots. So you'll want to change the spreadsheet that it's pulling from, but you also need to make sure that you change the initials that it's searching from. And then make sure you click Allow Access. This is my uppercase testing slideshow. Basically what I did is I went into PowerPoint and I made my slides the way that I wanted them to look. I teach kindergarten, so I'm incredibly picky about how things like 9, Q, 6, and 4 look. You can see here I have Q that looks like a Q, like most people make it, and then the 4s I want to look like this. I don't want them to be diagonal. And 9s I want to be straight and not like an upside down 6. So I made them in PowerPoint, I saved them as images, and I uploaded them as backgrounds on Google Slides. I'm not going to go into a tutorial on that with you too deeply, but I will link a video in the description that does do that. One thing I like to do is have all of my assessments available on my phone. And to do that, you're going to open your drive, open the form, and it will pull up in your browser. I use Chrome on my Android, but the process is the same, very similar on an Apple device. So again, you want to change the end to say view form, and then you'll add it to your home screen. You'll hit add, and then you can press and hold to put it where you want. I have a nice nifty folder with all of mine. Or you can add it automatically to your screen. And then you have them right there at your fingertips. So when it comes time to assess your kids, you just have to pull it up and select a student, and away you go. Another way that you can very quickly set up your browser so that you can assess quickly is to set up a folder on your bookmarks bar that has everything that you need in it. When I open this, you can see I have all of my spreadsheets with the results. I have my data at a glance. I also have my districts data sheets right there that I can access. And then I have my slideshows that are all of the things that I assess my kids over. So when I open the uppercase testing, I can just wait for it to load, click present, and then away we go, and they can tell me as we go through.